So my name is Eddie, and it is so great to meet with you. And I work as a mental health intern for Light of Loving Kindness. I'm also a student at the University of Chicago, studying sociology and Latin American studies. And I'm just interested in hearing your story of healing and how you visualize your practice helping others within your community. So most importantly, I would like your opinions about culturally specific mental health, and how we can reconcile different cultures, value systems, and histories in one practice. So yeah, I don't know whoever wants to start first. Give me a little bit of an introduction, tell me about yourself and your mental health journey.
Sure, I can go first. So my name is Gardenia, Alvarez. Nice meeting you, Ali. And so I'm an associate licensed marriage and family therapist. I got my master's degree at Purdue University in Northwest in Hammond, Indiana. And so my journal for mental health, I started attending therapy when I was I believe I was a freshman in college, so it's been a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Now, since 2015, I believe. And so therapy was really helpful for me, especially with my family, and just I received a lot of support from my therapist. And so I was going to become a social worker, and then I was taking a family dynamics class, and the professor in this class, he was the director of the program that I attended for my master's. So that's how I learned about therapy. And I said, oh wow! And then I met with him, and I learned more about what it is to become a therapist. And I said, this is it. This is what I want to be. So I started preparing for like the jury and making sure I get admitted to this program so I can become a therapist. And I did it, and here I am.
And what were your expectations for the field?
Well, I thought that becoming a therapist would just allow me to help others, because so I came here when I was 17 and I didn't speak any English, and I received a lot of support from like my high school professors and college professors. So I just said, oh, a lot of people has helped me, and I want to make sure I give back to my community. And so just by being bilingual and noticing, because I attended therapy, but none of my therapists speak Spanish, so it was hard for me to relate, but it still was helpful.
Yeah.
And saying, oh wow, there is a huge need for bilingual therapists, so I want to be one of them, and I want to like make sure I give back. And so far it's been so great, and I love it. It's my passion, just being in the therapy room with my clients.
And did you have that after you had realized that you wanted to be a therapist? What were some like challenges or lessons that you learned immediately and over time?
Well, I feel that I'm still learning, and it's just like it can be a lot of work that takes to get a master's degree. We are required to do a lot of hours experience, direct client contact hours, so it is definitely overwhelming. It's so much time it takes. A therapist, I feel that we have a lot of skills, not just by being a therapist and talking to people, but also doing a lot of like administrative work, client files. I feel that I'm like my secretary too. So it's just like, I don't know, we just learn so many different skills, and that can be challenging too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like
Balancing.
yeah.
And what are your current feelings about therapy? Have they changed at all?
They just confirm that this is my passion, and being with clients, and I think the client is the best the best person that can tell me how I'm doing my job is a client. And if they tell me that, oh, they are benefiting, oh, I'm doing great. Because sometimes I can be, like not feeling comfortable, or feeling that I have like a couple. Sometimes, sometimes working with couples can be really challenging,
Sure.
or like hard cases. And I feel that I don't know where I'm going. What am I doing here? It can feel like that sometimes.
Yeah.
But then by they giving you feedback and telling you thank you, or seeing that they make progress, it's like, oh wow, this is it.
It's like little babies that you watch grow, and then when they get old enough, they leave the nest.
Yes.
And then you're left kind of like, oh, what's happening?
I don't know, it's like, I think it's very rewarding. It's a very rewarding field. You grow, it is painful also because you see them in pain.
Yeah.
And you're there with them. But you have to be strong for them. So I think it is a lot. It's a lot.
And that's why, having your own mental wellness routine is super important. And I want to ask you guys about your everydays, your strategies, your go-tos. So, but first, let's start with you telling me about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Dr. Juan Barriga, and I'm one of the therapists here at Core Chicago. And for me, with my mental wellness journey, I learned at a young age, like it was either be a pediatrician or be a psychologist. At the end of the day, like for me, I was always passionate, like working with children. I just happened to be the oldest sibling of three, and I think that for me, coming from immigrant parents, like, they came here with the vision of wanting what's best for the children, like, working the way up like the staircase, the only way to go is up. And as you can imagine, like, it's not easy, it's not impossible, but like, of course, sacrifices were made along the way. And so I know that even growing up, like, I kind of was a helping hand in the household. And I know that for my parents, like, our values were like education. Like, we didn't have the access of it on our own, but we want our kids to have that. So I thought that was very powerful. Come high school, I remember being a junior, and I took as I was registering for classes, I was like, do I want to be a pediatrician or psychologist? Once I took an intro class my senior year in high school, I was like, I'm gonna major in that, but maybe go on a pre-med track in undergrad. And my first year, like, my dissertation kind of is related to this, but I'll get to that a little bit later. Being a first generation, Latino college student, wasn't easy. And to be the first in the family to go to college, like, I didn't feel like I was being guided as much. But even then, like, even if there were resources available, there was a bit of that reluctance, like, I don't know, like, where do I get the help? And, if I do get the help, like, what do I say? Like, is there a judgment? Is there a shame? That insecurity, for sure. You see that you're surrounded, and I went to predominantly white institutions, so, like, there's always that fear of, like, being perceived negatively. So I know that I didn't seek as much support then, I'll be honest. But yeah, I was dealing with academic stress, family-related stress, and I remember, and I thought, I feel like my true passion is like psychology. So I remember sticking with it in the long run. I minored in women's studies and gender studies because it just overlapped. I'm like, this is neat. Like, you just see the intersectionality of like many identities, learning feminist theory, queer theory, and I'm like, this is powerful stuff. And like, we oftentimes, don't talk about it as much within even the Latino community. But then you also see the value, like, learning feminist theory from like a lot of theorists like Gloria Zaldúa, like, just talking about like ni de aquí, ni de allá. I'm like, I feel with that that being a bicultural Latino in this country, like, it's like you kind of have the best of both worlds, but you're still trying to figure out where your place is. Exactly. So I remember senior year of college, that was when things were getting pretty tough with family health related issues and financial stress. I was working an internship, I was doing a work study, I was still a full-time student, I was commuting. And that was when I first received therapy through college, because I believe they give you a limited number of sessions. And it was nice and reassuring to have that space where, like, you can let it out, because sometimes, growing up, the message is like, you gotta be strong.
Yeah.
And it is a nice, endearing message with a good intention, but sometimes, like, it almost can be a bit like toxic positivity. And even as a Latin male, like cisgender male, this belief of like, tienes que ser fuerte, you gotta be strong, you can't cry. Exactly. And con Dios todo es posible. And I'm like, that is true, but I'm struggling, and my faith did waver, and fast forward grad school, same situation. It was tough. I didn't even know that I had to go to grad school to be a psychologist. I learned that my freshman year of college, so again, I just had great social supports to guide me through. And since then, it's been rewarding. I think that just similar to what Gardenia said, when we're working with clients, like, it's nice to provide a space of empathy for healing and to let people share their intimate, most vulnerable moments. And sometimes we really do have to keep ourselves in check. We have to make sure that we're also getting our cups full. Like we can't, pour out of an empty cup. So thankfully, like I do have my supports, social supports, spiritual supports, family supports. I'm all about it because as Latinos, I think in general, like we come from a very collectivistic culture, and we're working in a pretty individualistic society. So there's culture clashes. So it's always about trying to find, your group. Like who are your posse, the people who are going to be there with you through the thick of it. And since then, working with the populations I've served, I'm a South Sider Chicagoland, and I know that even then it's a bit of a cultural identity even here in the Chicagoland area. I've been fortunate to have served predominantly like Black and Latinx communities that intersect with like working class, coming, as immigrants. Some might be documented, some might not, and to provide them therapy, to also diagnose and just provide like assessments, because these resources, unfortunately, they're not equally equitably distributed. And I think that wellness it should be a right. Maslow could argue and say like, these are some needs that we need to have met. And, I'm glad that we're in a place where we're able to, be part of a community to support a community that's pretty vulnerable. We're bilingual, we're bicultural, and it's just so rewarding to like understand where they're coming from, provide them the supports, the tools, but also tweak and modify them. Some might be religious or spiritual, some might not. Some might be family oriented, some might not. Some might carry intergenerational trauma, and we're here just to help process that and help them be the best that they can be.